In the heat-blasted city of Yazd in central Iran, there are residential courtyards that have stayed at a steady 58 degrees Fahrenheit through every summer since before the American Revolution. No compressors, no fans, no copper wire running anywhere. The cooling comes from a buried tunnel connected to a tall vertical shaft, and it works on a principle so simple that a child can understand it in under a minute. Air gets heavy when it's cold. It gets light when it's hot. That's it. That's the whole trick. And the system built on top of that principle has been quietly outperforming every modern HVAC unit in the region for more than 400 years. The plans still exist. The physics hasn't changed. And for about $320 in materials, you can build a modern version in your own backyard that will heat and cool your house without ever drawing a single watt of electricity. Most people have never heard of the Badger, which is the Persian word for wind catcher. Combined with an underground tunnel called a kanat, it forms the oldest continuously operating passive climate system on Earth. Ancient Iranian engineers figured out something most modern HVAC technicians never get taught. If you make a tall chimney on the south side of a building and paint it black, the sun will heat the air inside that chimney. The hot air rises and exits at the top. That creates a partial vacuum at the bottom. That vacuum pulls air through whatever is connected to it. Connect a long buried pipe on the other end, and the vacuum pulls outside air through the pipe, past the cool earth, into the home, and then out the chimney. No fan required. No electricity. Just gravity, sun, and temperature differential doing the work for you every single minute of every single day. Before we go any further, let's look at what this replaces. A modern central air conditioning system costs between $4,500 and $8,000 to install, and another $1,800 to $2,600 a year to operate in a typical climate. Add a high-efficiency gas furnace at another $3,800 installed, plus $900 to $1,400 a year in fuel, and you're looking at combined climate control expenses. That push past $45,000 over 20 years of ownership. And when that system fails, usually at the 10 to 15-year mark, the entire cost resets. The fully passive earth tunnel, properly built, has no moving parts, no refrigerant, no fuel input, and no replacement cycle. Materials cost around $320. Labor is the trench work, which can be handled in a single weekend with a rented trencher. Maintenance is cleaning a screen twice a year. That's it. That's the whole economic picture. Here's the frustrating part. The knowledge of how to build this was public, documented, and freely available in the West more than a century ago. A British architect named Arthur Upham Pope traveled through Persia in the early 1930s and published detailed measured drawings of Badger Kanat systems. In his 1938 volume titled A Survey of Persian Art and Architecture. The book sits in the reference sections of major university libraries today. French architect Eugene Baudouin brought the idea to Europe after his 1952 survey of traditional Iranian houses. American architects Paolo Soleri and Arcosanti experimenters studied the same principles in the 1960s and built working versions in the Arizona desert that are still operating today. This is not secret information. It just didn't fit into the post-war American economy, which was busy selling refrigerators and window air conditioners. So the knowledge sat on shelves instead of in backyards. Now let me walk you through the physics, because once you see it, you can't unsee it. The ground beneath your feet, starting around 6 feet deep, sits at a stable temperature that matches the annual average air temperature of your region. In most of the continental United States, that temperature falls between 52 and 62 degrees Fahrenheit. Doesn't matter if it's August or February. Doesn't matter if there's snow on the ground or heat shimmering off the pavement. 6 feet down, the soil just sits there at its steady, annoyingly consistent temperature, like a thermal library that never closes. If you pull outside air through a long pipe buried at that depth, the air exchanges heat with the soil and comes out the other end at roughly ground temperature. Cool in summer, warm in winter. The only question is how you move the air. Most modern earth tube installations use a small inline fan that draws 40 to 60 watts. That works, but it's still electrically dependent. The fully passive design uses a solar chimney instead. A solar chimney is a tall vertical tube, usually painted matte black, often with a south-facing glass wall or metal panel. The sun heats the air inside. Hot air rises. It exits through a vent at the top. The rising air creates a steady negative pressure at the bottom of the chimney, And that pressure differential pulls fresh air through your earth tunnel into the home, then upward through the chimney and out. One continuous circulation, driven entirely by the sun and the stability of the ground. Here's the concept in 11 words. Hot chimney sucks cold air. Cold earth tempers the incoming air. Simple, the build. A 100 to 130-foot run of smooth-walled PVC pipe, 6 inches in diameter, buried between 7 and 9 feet deep. Cost for the pipe, joints, and end caps runs around $155. An intake hood with an insect screen on one end, mounted roughly 3 feet above the ground, for about $28. The indoor end connects to a register inside your home. The solar chimney is the novel piece. It's typically built as a vertical chase, about 12 to 18 inches square, rising from the ceiling of your home up through the roof, to a height of at least 4 feet above the roofline. The chase is lined with thin sheet metal or dark-painted ductwork. The south-facing side is a pane of single-tempered glass, which lets sunlight in but traps the heat. Total material cost for the chimney assembly, if you build it yourself, runs between $115 and $145. Add a few dollars for dampers, mounting hardware, and sealant, and you land around $320 total. Markus Hofmann, a German solar architect working out of Tucson since 2009, has designed 14 of these systems for Southwest homes. His standard design uses a 125-foot earth tube and a 14-foot tall solar chimney finished with black anodized aluminum. The homes he's built for stay at 58 to 68 degrees through summer afternoons when outdoor temperatures hit 104. In winter, the same system preheats incoming air from overnight lows around 28 degrees up to a comfortable 48 before it enters the home. Hofmann reports that none of his clients have installed supplemental air conditioning. None. His most recent installation was completed in the spring of 2023 for a retired couple in Sedona, and their first full summer produced an average indoor temperature of 65.8 degrees with a peak never exceeding 72. Their total cooling cost for that summer, according to their utility bill review, was exactly $0. You're probably wondering whether this works in climates that don't get constant sunshine. Fair question. The answer is yes, with caveats. The solar chimney effect weakens on cloudy days, so airflow drops. In practice, most homes with this design experience steady, strong airflow on sunny days, moderate flow on cloudy days, and gentle convection at night as the chimney releases stored heat. The earth tube itself doesn't care. It keeps tempering air whenever air moves through it. In climates with long cloudy stretches, some builders add a small supplementary fan that runs on a single rooftop solar panel rated at 20 watts. Total system cost rises to around $420. But the electrical grid is still entirely out of the picture. A word on where this works best. The fully passive version really shines in climates with strong solar exposure and substantial daily temperature swings. Most of the American Southwest, high desert Colorado, northern Mexico, southern Spain, anywhere with sunny days and cool nights. In humid subtropical climates like Florida or the Gulf Coast, solar chimney performance is less consistent because of persistent cloud cover and high humidity. Those regions tend to do better with a small fan-assisted design. In cold-tempered climates like New England, the chimney works excellent in summer but needs supplemental design in winter to handle extreme cold loads. Priya Chatterjee, a natural building researcher at a New Mexico Sustainability Institute, published a 3-year study in 2020 documenting performance of 11 fully passive earth tube systems across Arizona, New Mexico, and southern Utah. The systems ranged in age from 4 years to 21 years old. Summer cooling performance averaged an indoor temperature 22 to 34 degrees below peak outdoor temperature. Winter heating performance, when paired with a small wood stove, produced average indoor temperatures between 65 and 71 degrees through the full heating season. Chatterjee's conclusion, quote, "These systems represent among the most reliable and economically efficient passive climate strategies currently in documented operation in North America." Her paper is available through the Institute's public archive for anyone who wants to read it. Then there's the cultural layer, which deserves a mention. In Iran, entire neighborhoods in cities like Yazd and Kerman still operate on Badger Qanat systems. Tourism photographers have been documenting these structures for over a century, largely because they're visually striking, rarely understanding that they're also functioning climate infrastructure. UNESCO added the ancient Qanat systems of Iran to its World Heritage List in 2016, formally recognizing that these underground tunnel networks represent continuous engineering accomplishments spanning more than 3,000 years. The same principles, scaled to a single-family residence, work identically in Dalton, Georgia or Boise, Idaho. The design has also traveled across the Islamic world over the centuries. Wind catchers appear in traditional Omani and Emirati architecture, where they catch sea breezes and funnel them through underground chambers. Ottoman-era houses in Cyprus and Crete used a smaller scale version, pulling courtyard breezes through stone passages into sleeping rooms. Indian stepwell architecture, particularly the massive complexes at Rani Kuvav and Chanbauri, served a similar climate control purpose in addition to water storage. The same physical principle, applied differently, across dozens of cultures and thousands of years. Not one of those civilizations had access to electricity. All of them produced comfortable indoor climates in brutal outdoor environments using gravity, geometry, and the steady temperature of the Earth. What's particularly striking about the modern retrofits of this technology is how quickly the systems pay for themselves in hot, sunny climates. The California Energy Commission conducted a comparative study in 2016 that looked at 16 residential homes in the Mojave and Sonoran Desert regions. Homes with fully passive earth tunnel systems recorded summer electrical consumption 71% lower than comparable homes with conventional central air. Annual comfort hours, which is a metric measuring the percentage of time indoor temperatures stayed within the comfort zone of 65 to 78 degrees, averaged 94% for the passive homes versus 88% for the conventional ones. The passive systems not only saved money, but delivered better comfort on average. That combination is rare in any technology. Greg Hallman is a homesteader in the San Luis Valley of southern Colorado. His altitude is 7,500 feet. His winters touch -22. His summers clear 92. In 2018, he built a fully passive earth tunnel with a 14-foot solar chimney on his 1,900 square foot off-grid home. His total material cost, documented on his modest homesteading blog, was $347 plus his time operating a rented mini excavator. 6 years in, his electric bill averages less than $18 a month, almost entirely for LED lighting and a freezer. Summer indoor temperatures have stayed between 62 and 71 degrees. He burns about 3 cords of wood per winter to supplement the tunnel, primarily during the deepest January cold snaps. His annual total energy expenditure, including propane for cooking, was $380 last year. Not per month, per year. So if this works so well, why doesn't every new home in the Sunbelt come with one? 4 real reasons, each worth naming clearly. First, architectural integration. A solar chimney has to be part of the building design from the start, rising cleanly through the roof, exposed to south sun, sealed at all air boundaries. Retrofitting one into an existing home is possible but requires significant work. For new construction, it's an obvious choice if the architect knows it. Few architects do. Second, aesthetic norms. A solar chimney looks different. It's usually painted black. It rises above the roofline like a factory stack. American suburban aesthetics, shaped by a century of builder-grade design catalogs, have trained homeowners to want bland rooflines. Overcoming that visual conservatism is a real barrier, even when the economic and comfort benefits are obvious. Third, permitting. Most jurisdictions have no standardized permit category for a solar chimney. Inspectors sometimes classify it as a fireplace chimney, sometimes as a mechanical chase, sometimes as an architectural feature. The paperwork can take 6 to 12 weeks. Search your city or county building department for passive solar chimney or thermosiphon ventilation permit. Budget extra time in your project schedule. Fourth, skill gap. While the project isn't technically difficult, it's unfamiliar to most general contractors. The detailing around the chimney roof penetration, the flashing, the glass ceiling, and the damper installation all require attention. A homeowner who reads carefully and watches a few build videos can handle it. A contractor who's never done one before might struggle. Hire someone with specific experience, or plan to manage the project yourself with the help of published guides. There's one more design consideration worth naming. Condensation can form inside the earth tube during seasonal transitions when warm, humid air contacts cool pipe walls. A properly installed system slopes the pipe at a minimum of 1 inch per 10 feet of run, draining toward a cleanout or sump at the lowest point. Water collects there. Bleed the drain twice a year. Miss this step, and you can develop standing water, mold issues, and unpleasant odors. Get it right and you'll never think about it again. The honest labor picture. Digging a 120-foot trench at 8 feet deep is significant work. Renting a mini excavator runs between $280 and $420 per day, and lets a single person finish the trench in 6 to 8 hours. Hiring an excavation contractor costs $1,100 to $1,800 in most regions. Either way, the trench work is a one-time cost that never repeats. The system it enables keeps working for decades. The payback math deserves one more look. Average household cooling costs in the South and Southwest run between $1,600 and $2,400 a year. A fully passive earth tunnel system, including solar chimney, replaces most or all of that cost. Simple payback, ignoring the avoided equipment replacement costs, is typically between 6 months and 2 years, including the fact that you'll never replace an HVAC unit again. The lifetime value can easily exceed $60,000 for a homeowner who stays in the home for 30 years. Something else happens that doesn't show up on any spreadsheet. The indoor air quality in a passively ventilated home is noticeably different. Fresh, tempered air flowing continuously through every living space, without the dust and noise of forced air, produces a calm, clean environment that most Americans have literally never experienced. Visitors often comment on it without knowing why. There's less dust accumulation on surfaces. There's less winter dryness. There's no blower noise. The house breathes gently, all on its own, powered by the sun and the earth. Grid resilience is another quiet benefit worth acknowledging. Power outages are increasing in frequency across the United States, up roughly 78% in the past decade, according to federal reliability reports. When the grid fails during a summer heat wave, conventional air conditioning fails with it. Deaths from heat exposure during outages have been rising steadily. A home with a fully passive earth tunnel keeps delivering tempered air regardless of whether the grid is functioning. During the Texas power collapse of February 2021, a small number of homes that had earth tunnels with wood stove backup stayed at comfortable temperatures throughout the entire multi-day outage while their neighbors evacuated to emergency shelters. That kind of resilience is difficult to put a price on until you need it. There's also a wildfire smoke angle that's become relevant in recent years. The intake end of an earth tunnel can be fitted with a simple high-efficiency filter that removes fine particulates from incoming air. During smoke events, which have become routine in the western United States, a filtered passive system delivers cleaner air to the home than any conventional HVAC system short of a sealed MERV16 installation. Filter replacement is the only ongoing cost, and a single high-quality filter runs about $45 and lasts most of a year. The Iranians figured this out while medieval Europeans were still burning peat fires in smoky stone halls. The knowledge has been preserved and refined in one continuous lineage for over 4,000 years. It's not obscure, it's not illegal, it's not patented. It's just waiting for the next generation of homeowners to rediscover what their ancestors somehow lost along the way. Pull up a satellite view of your property. Find a path for a 120-foot trench run that doesn't cross your septic field or major tree roots. Look at the southernmost wall of your home and imagine a black vertical chase rising 4 feet above the peak of your roof. If both are possible, you have everything you need to start. Sketch it on paper. Price the materials at your local hardware store. Make one phone call to an excavation contractor for a trench quote. You'll have your answer about whether this fits your life within a week. And once you know, you'll never look at your monthly utility bill the same way again. One more thing to sit with. This isn't a gadget. It isn't an appliance. It isn't something that has to be upgraded every decade. It's an architectural decision, rooted in physics, that will outlive you. Children who grow up in a house with one of these systems often don't realize what's unusual about it until they visit friends and hear the roar of an air conditioner for the first time. Their normal is better than most people's luxury. That's worth something, even if it takes a generation to become obvious.